So finally, India and New Zealand have concluded the talks over free trade agreement. And India and New Zealand would be formally signing a free trade agreement in the first half of 2026, that is the first half of the upcoming year.
India has just signed another big trade deal, this time with New Zealand. It's been called a major breakthrough. The deal was concluded in just 9 months and it's expected to double the volume of trade between India and New Zealand in just 5 years.
India has signed another trade pact, this time with New Zealand. And it's being called a historic breakthrough.
The India-New Zealand partnership is going to scale newer heights. The FTA sets the stage for doubling bilateral trade in the coming 5 years.
And we hope that the legally scrubbed text will be signed within next 3 months, within the first quarter of 2026.
Now, if you see recent India's foreign policy and India's economic diplomacy, India is currently accelerating its pursuit of free trade agreements in the world with a wide range of countries like New Zealand, Russia, Oman, and even though past FTAs have given us modest returns over trade gains, but still India is paramount over signing more free trade agreements with the different countries in the world. Now, this particular thing shows a shift in the focus with FTAs now being used more to secure strategic gains and strategic advantages and strategic partnerships and geopolitical interests rather than to boost trade. Earlier, the purpose of FTA was just to boost trade, but now the ramifications of an FTA are much more than this. It is much more deepened and widened partnership between the two countries, and the reasons are geopolitical and strategically very, very important. Now, this simply means that India has renewed its push for signing FTAs in the world, and it is moving away from the pure trade liberalization towards using FTAs as a tool for geopolitical alignment in the world, and also to ensure supply chain security in the world and ensuring strategic partnership with the countries they are joining FTAs with. And all this is happening in a weakening multilateral world order. Now, when we talk about India and New Zealand, this FTA has been signed to boost the trade to $5 billion between both the countries, and also to attract a $20 billion investment, also to protect farmers and expand services access and create jobs across the sectors in both the countries is the purpose of signing this particular free trade agreement. Now, what is the historical bilateral link between India and New Zealand? What is this FTA all about? What will be the impact of FTA? And what at all is free trade agreement? All these things we'll be trying to answer in this particular session. Hello, my name is Preetpal Singh and you're watching Perspective. Now, first of all, when we talk about India and New Zealand established their diplomatic relationship in the year 1952, and they share enduring ties due to being a part of the Commonwealth. And because of Commonwealth membership and because of common law traditions and democratic governance, both the countries converge very, very easily. Other than this, both the countries have deep-rooted sporting relationships, especially you see in cricket, hockey, and mountaineering and tourism as well. For Indian tourists, New Zealand is a very favorable destination, and which is why there's a long fostered goodwill between both the societies at large. And not just this, for New Zealand as well, India is a very prominent partner. New Zealand has identified India as a priority partner through initiatives such as Opening Doors to India, which was in 2011, and New Zealand Inclusive India Strategy. And this particular thing was further developed by India-New Zealand 2025, investing in the relationship strategy of New Zealand, envisioning a more enduring, more strategic partnership across political, economic, and people-centric domains between India and New Zealand. Now, when you talk about economic and trade-related ties between India and New Zealand, because we are going to talk about free trade agreement, economically and trade-related, New Zealand is India's 11th largest two-way trading partner. And India and New Zealand's total trade in the year 2023-2024, it was valued at around 1.75 billion US dollar. Now, it is supposed to increase to $5 billion after signing of this free trade agreement, eventually in future. Now, the key trade sectors between the two countries are education, tourism, dairy, food processing, pharmaceuticals, renewable energy, and critical minerals. And India exports pharmaceuticals, precious metals and stones, and textiles, motor vehicles, and non-knitted apparels to New Zealand. And India imports a lot of goods from New Zealand, for example, logs, forestry products, wood, edible oil, and fruits and nuts as well. Now, in defense ties, education ties, people-to-people ties as well, the relationship between India and New Zealand is at the top. and it's a very good relationship. Now coming to this free trade agreement. Now this free trade agreement talks, they were launched during Luxon's visit in India, and the deal was finalized in a historic record in 9 months, reflecting strong political commitment from both the sides of the countries and a shared goal on deepening bilateral ties and boosting trade and boosting economic relationship between both the countries. But now the logical question which you must ask is that what is this free trade agreement and how a free trade agreement between India and New Zealand is going to help both the partners economically, financially and trade related. Now first of all, free trade agreement. It's an agreement between the two countries for permitting free trade across various sectors, which means it is an arrangement between two countries or more countries or a regional bloc to reduce or eliminate trade barriers through mutual negotiations and also to promote trade amongst both the countries or that particular grouping. This is what we call as free trade agreement, where the trade will remain free and fair between all the countries a part of this FTA. Now you know that all the countries, they devise certain trade barriers with different countries in relation to trade. Now those trade barriers are in the form of custom duties, are in the form of import duties, are in the form of, let's say, quotas, or different other import barriers are there, or different other trade barriers are existing. And under free trade agreement, several trade barriers are reduced, like custom duties, which are tariffs, they are reduced, rules of origin, that is also made relaxed, and other non-tariff measures like technical barriers to trade, sanitary and phytosanitary measures, and trade remedies, they are also relaxed in a free trade agreement, and the trade is made as free as possible and as open as possible between the two countries or the signing members of a free trade agreement. Now when we talk about free trade agreement, according to the World Trade Organization WTO, India has signed over 20 regional or free trade agreements, and in addition to the recent one, that is India-UK Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement, that is India-UK CETA, or Indian-European Free Trade Association Trade and Economic Partnership Agreement, that is TEPA. Other than this, there are 20 free trade agreements or regional agreements which India is a part of. But now the question is that how this free trade agreement is going to help boost the bilateral relationship, the trade relationship between India and New Zealand. See, this FTA is expected to double the bilateral trade within the next 5 years between both the countries. It is also expected to deepen more economic engagement between the two countries and strengthen cooperation beyond trade as well, covering sectors like defense, education, sports, innovation and people-to-people ties also. Now when we talk about investment and market access gains, New Zealand would be investing around $20 billion in India over the next 15 years, which is a humongous amount. Also alongside this, a dedicated healthcare and traditional medicine annex, New Zealand's first such agreement with any other country, would also be made, which will facilitate a trade in health services amongst the two nations, especially in traditional medicine also. Now when we talk about tariff liberalization or trade liberalization, around 95% of the New Zealand's exports will see tariff either eliminated or reduced completely. So 95% of the things we are exporting or we are going to export from New Zealand is going to be tariff free or with very, very less tariff. Not just this, 57% of exports to India will be duty free from day one, rising to 82% on the full implementation. The remaining 13% will see significant tariff cuts. Now, based on this FTA, since the trade between India and New Zealand would be free, but still India has kept certain protected sensitive sectors as well, which means these sensitive sectors would be protected in this FTA, which means no concessions on sectors like dairy, onions, sugar, spices, edible oil, rubber, rice, wheat and soya. No concessions on these things would be given by the Indian government. That is a part of this particular FTA. Now, not just all these things. This free trade agreement was expected or is expected to build a labor-intensive sector or labor-intensive jobs in sectors like apparel, like leather, like textiles, rubber, footwear, home decor, etc. and also promote export of automobiles, auto components, machineries, electronics, pharmaceuticals, etc. There will be a remarkable shift and change done for mobility and services access as well. Around 5,000 temporary employment visas annually for Indian professionals will be issued, which will be valid up to 3 long years. This is again a remarkable feat. And not just this, India has gained market access over 118 service sectors and most favored nation status in 139 sectors, which is expanding opportunities for Indian professionals in the global world as well. Now, most favored nation status given in 139 sectors, expanding opportunities for Indian professionals, of course. Now, this MFN status is a key WTO principle that requires the countries that they will treat all WTO members equally in trade. See, last but not the least, if we see this free trade agreement periodically, we'll be doing wrong. India's renewed emphasis recently on free trade agreements is less about expanding trade volumes and is more about navigating this fragmented world order. which is not unipolar but is multipolar. And now, as there are several forces in the world which are leading to deglobalization from globalization, which are talking about protectionism, and where the multilateralism world is weakening and geopolitics dominates economics, FTAs has evolved into a very definitive tool, a prominent tool for strategic alignment. Also, it has evolved as a tool for diplomatic insurance and supply chain security in the world. In this emerging world order, strategic logic rather than economic efficiency will drive India's foreign policy and also will drive India's trade policy as well. I hope you gained a new perspective from this session. All the very best, and do let me know your views in the comment section. All the best and have a beautiful day. Thank you.